August 19th, 2025 regular meeting of the Everett Public Schools Board of Directors is hereby called to order. We will begin tonight with the land acknowledgement. Director Robolinski.
We acknowledge the original inhabitants of this area, the Stohobj people and their successors, the Tulalip tribes. Since time immemorial, they have hunted, fished, gathered on, and taken care of these lands and waters. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. In Everett Public Schools, we strive to create equitable outcomes and build a culture of inclusive belonging for all students, teachers, staff, and community.
Thank you. That takes us to the flag salute. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
President Mitchell.
Present.
Vice President Herman.
Present.
Director Revelinsky.
Present.
Director Atkins.
Present.
Director Lawrence.
Present.
That takes us now to the adoption of the agenda. Dr. Saltzman, are there any changes to the agenda after it was published?
Yes, Madam Chair, there were two changes to the agenda this evening. Item 11.7, acceptance of the financial reports as of July 31st, 2025. A correction was made to the July actual 2024-2025 data. And item 14.01, adoption of resolution 1324, operation budget for fiscal year 2025-2026. Minor rounding adjustments were made, as well as the date correction in the resolution. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Is there any objection to the meeting agenda being adopted by general consent? Seeing none, the agenda is adopted by general consent. That takes us to recognition, and I want to welcome up, hi.
Hey.
Dr. Meisner to begin our
Excellent.
introduction of the new administrators.
Thank you. President Mitchell, directors, Dr. Salzman, we have a wonderful group of administrators that we will introduce you to tonight as we welcome them into our district. And I will begin with Ariana. Why don't you come on up, Ariana? It's my pleasure to introduce to you Ariana Burton Rodriguez. Ariana joins us at becoming the assistant principal at Jackson High School. Ariana comes to us most recently from the North Shore School District, and she began her career as a paraeducator and then continued as a special education teacher. So she brings a wealth of knowledge around how to support diverse learners. Ariana is a proud graduate of the University of Washington Danforth Educational Leadership Program. And she's excited about this new role because it allows her to support students at the high school level and to partner with students and families in meaningful ways. Welcome, Ariana.
Hello. One thing you'll learn about me is when I have to speak in public, I blank. So I have a little paper. So yeah, thank you to the board for the opportunity to serve the community in this new role. I became a school administrator because I know what it's like to go through school without always feeling seen or represented. That drives me to make sure every student has a voice, connection, and clear path to success. In my role, I get to empower students, support teachers, and help build a school culture where all students thrive. I'm excited to be a part of Everett Public Schools because of its commitment to equity and innovation, and I'm proud to help carry that vision forward for our students and families. Thank you.
All right. Next, I'd like to invite Michelle Strickler. There you are. I'm pleased to introduce the board and the community to Michelle Strickler, who will serve as assistant principal at Cedarwood and Silver Firs Elementaries. Michelle joined Everett Public Schools during the 24-25 school year last year at Emerson Elementary, filling in for the assistant principal role there. Before coming to Everett, Michelle was an assistant principal at Laurelhurst K-8 in Portland Public Schools. And prior to that, she was a teacher coach as well as a classroom teacher. Michelle is excited about this new role because it gives her an opportunity to connect with more schools in our community and to build those strong partnerships with students and families and staff. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you.
All right. Hi, good evening. First off, I want to thank you all for the opportunity to serve Silver Firs and Cedarwood Elementary Schools. I'm very excited to bring my talents and my passion for this role to those communities and continue to learn more about Washington and Everett, where I now live. So I'm very excited. A lot of what you will get to know about me is my why, like most educators in this space, is about kids. And for me, I grew up with privilege. I grew up being somebody who got all the things. And when I went into this role, I realized that that is not real for, I would say, almost 80% of the kids in this country. So what I strive to do is I want all kids to make sure that when they're stepping foot in a school that they're receiving an equitable educational opportunity for every single kid. They get to be whoever they want to be. They get to have their passions looked forward to by teachers. It might not look like academic strong. It might not look like behavioral strong, but we are going to find the thing that drives them, and we're going to foster that and encourage that, and we're going to have every kid walk in and graduate being successful in their own right. That is why I do this work.
Yay.
Wonderful. Now I'd like to introduce Dr. Kathy Woods.
Thank you. Good evening, President Mitchell, directors, Superintendent Salzman. It is my pleasure to introduce some additional new administrative staff. I'd like to start with Skylar Lambert. Skylar will come join me. Skylar is joining Everett High School as assistant principal. He completed his administrative internship in the 24-25 school year at Meade High School in Spokane. He has experience as a math teacher, a teacher of special needs students, a leadership teacher, all at Meade High School in the Meade School District. In addition, he served as activities coordinator, ASB advisor, class advisor. So he's done all things activities as well as academics. Skylar earned his Bachelor of Science degree in Math and Special Education from Whitworth. He has Master of Science degree in Curriculum and Instruction from Western Governors University, and his administrative certificate from Gonzaga. Skylar is excited to learn more about Everett and to support students, staff, and the whole community. And we are thrilled to welcome Skylar as one of our newest Seagulls.
Good evening, or wow, I feel so tall compared to this microphone.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kathy. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for welcoming me here tonight, and also thank you for welcoming me into your district and your city. It is very interesting to not be in Spokane anymore after 30 years there, but I'm excited to be here and learn. My role here is brand new to me, and I'm really excited to support our students at Everett High School and in this district in everything and anything they can do to grow as human beings. The reason why I'm here is to make sure students have every opportunity to figure out who they are and then to be who they are, and making sure that teachers feel supported in that way as well to provide those experiences for students. My goal is to make sure every student has equal access to what they need and what they want in school, and how I can fit into that role as best as possible. I'm gonna figure out and grow. Part of my reason here is I wanna grow as an administrator and I wanna grow as an educator. This being my first year, I'm really excited that I get the opportunity to do that here in Everett. So thank you.
Thank you, Skylar. Next, I'd like to introduce Katie Loker, who is also joining us as an assistant principal at Everett High School. Katie joins Everett from her position as principal of North Canyon High School in Paradise Valley Unified School District in Phoenix, Arizona. Prior to her principal role, Katie was assistant principal at Maryvale High School in the Phoenix Union School District, and before that, she taught mathematics and served as a teacher on special assignment at Agua Fria High School, at Camelback High School, and Cesar Chavez High School. She earned her bachelor's degree in politics, government, and international relations from the University of Puget Sound, and her master's in education from Arizona State University. She's excited to join Everett High School because of its rich traditions and history, and she is looking forward to supporting the multi-tier systems of support on campus to ensure all students thrive. We are thrilled to welcome Katie Loker to the Seagull community. Hi.
Good evening, members of the board. Dr. Saltzman, thank you so much for this opportunity here today. I look forward to working at Everett High School this year. I did start my career in education with Teach for America, and I was excited to make sure that all of my students had the opportunity to grow in their potential in the secondary math classroom. And moving into administration, that has really translated for me into making sure that our students all have access to the post-secondary outcomes and pathways of their choice. So for me, I'm the first in my family to graduate college and earn a degree, and that obviously has been a tremendous game changer in terms of opportunities and career in my life. And so that's something that I'm consistently advocating for when we look at instruction in classrooms and making sure that we're providing rigorous opportunities for our students to be successful inside of the classroom, and that we're really coaching them in terms of social emotional support and skills, as well as academic skills to take that next step, whether it's vocational training, college, university, the military, et cetera. So I look forward to supporting our students at Everett in their post-secondary pathways.
Finally, I'd like to introduce Juan Zabaleta Verdeja. Juan is also joining Everett High School as an assistant principal. He completed his administrative internship during this last school year at Ingram High School in Seattle, and he joins Everett from his position as a multilingual math teacher at Ingram High School. Just a side note here. You heard me say math with all three of these. Principal Shepard was also a math teacher. I think we're going to expect great things in math from Everett High School. No pressure. Okay, maybe some pressure. So he was a multilingual math teacher at Ingram High School. He's also been a CTE teacher at both Ingram and Franklin High Schools. Prior to teaching, he served as a Familias Unidas lead instructional assistant at Ingram. He earned his Bachelor of Arts from the University of Washington and his Master's in Education also from University of Washington, and this cougar won't hold that against him. Juan is excited that he is able to, in his new role, he's going to be able to impact student learning across the campus, especially by listening to voices that have been historically underrepresented. It is with joy and excitement that I join all of you in welcoming Juan to Everett.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you to the board for the opportunity to be here and lead with my team, Everett High School. Gracias por la oportunidad de estar aquí para poder hacer un líder con mi equipo en mi prepa. I am a product of some amazingly culturally responsive teachers, without who I would not be here where I am today. And so my why is to help teachers develop ways in which they can have high expectations for themselves and for their students, but also create opportunities for their students to be leaders in their communities. And I'm excited to get the opportunity to continue the work that I started at Ingram and then move forward here at Everett with what has already been taking place. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and now I'd like to introduce Dr. Shelley Boughton.
Thank you. Good evening, President Mitchell, board directors, Dr. Salzman. I am very honored to be able to introduce a dual language director, Erica Velasco. Erica, would you please come join me at the podium? So Erica didn't have to travel very far for this position because she was our dual language facilitator here in Everett Public Schools. However, prior to coming to Everett, Erica's had a very rich and varied experience, beginning her career as a paraeducator, as well as a teacher in a dual language program in both this state and out of this state. She was a principal and assistant principal in Idaho. She had some experience as a dual language director as well in a previous district. But we are very blessed to have had her here as a dual language facilitator for the last few years. And she is now here as a director so that she can help to facilitate this work at the next level. She's very excited about this role because she does get to continue to support students and teachers, specifically in the dual language program. And what brings her the most joy in this work, and it will not be a surprise to you, is that she believes and helping all students to develop pride in their language, their culture, and identity. Bilingualism and multiculturalism, in her belief, enrich every student's experience. And she wants all students to feel seen, valued, and empowered, especially those students who are Spanish speaking. And she wants English non-native language speakers to gain new language and deeper appreciation for diverse cultures. So it is with great honor that I present to you Director Erica Velasco.
Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Erika Velasco. Soy la nueva directora del programa bilingüe del distrito de Everett. Es un honor estar aquí y mi propósito o mi porqué es asegurarme de que cada estudiante, ya sea hispanohablante, angloparlante o que hable otro idioma, se sienta orgulloso de su idioma, de su cultura y de su identidad. El bilingüismo y el multiculturalismo enriquecen a todos los estudiantes. Y a través de programas de educación bilingües de alta calidad, desarrollamos la biliteracidad, la excelencia académica y competencia sociocultural. Quiero que los estudiantes hispanohablantes se sientan vistos, valorados y empoderados, y que los estudiantes angloparlantes adquieran un nuevo idioma y una apreciación más profunda a nuestras culturas diversas que tenemos en nuestro distrito. Gracias por su apoyo, por hacer esta visión posible. So good evening, Board of Directors, President Mitchell, and Dr. Salzman. My name is Erika Velasco, and I'm the new director of the Dual Language Program. And my why, I want to tell you my why. I know Shelley already talked to you about it, but I wrote it down in case I forgot anything else. So I'm just going to let you know that I want to be here. It is an honor to be here, and not because I always joke with Chris. About like, even if I was rich, I would still come to work every single day because this is my passion, this is my why, the students and making a difference. And I know that my colleague talked about how he grew up and we didn't have what the dual language program was not part of our lives. And I know Michelle talked about growing in privilege. We did not. So we're here because we want to make a difference. We want the students to be able to see us as well, to be able to see that we can do it. If we can do it, they can do it. So we are here to support them. I'm a first generation teacher, the first person that went to college in my family. And I always told my daughter, if I can do it, you can do it. So I make sure that she knew that, and we continue to follow the same vision as a family, and she ended up graduating this year actually from Harvard University. So I'm just really proud because I know that if we can do it, everybody else can do it. So the vision is to make sure that every single student feels proud of their language, whether they speak Spanish, English, or another language. We want them to make sure that they feel proud of their language, their culture, and their identity. Bilingualism and multiculturalism enrich all students. And through high-quality dual language programs, we build biliteracy, high academic achievement, and sociocultural competence. I want to make sure that the Spanish-speaking students feel seen, valued, and empowered. And I want English-speaking students to gain a new language and a deeper appreciation of our diverse cultures. Thank you for your support in making this vision possible.
So I think at this time, what we'd like to do is do a quick photo opportunity with all of our new administrators on the board. So new administrators, would you please join the board right in front of the dais? And Harmony, I'm going to let you coordinate.
Can we get their principals up here too?
And principals, please.
Principals?
Please come, principals.
It is.
Director, some of them have family members.
Oh, yeah. We'll do staff and then we'll do family. So scoot in the center. But you're taller than our little kids, so give a little gap so we can be seen too.
Chris, stand on the end.
Yeah.
And then push a little bit, and
I think we can be seen.
I think I need to step. Okay. Counting the board members, make sure I see all of their heads. Okay. Great.
But don't go anywhere because we have some family here. Would anybody like their family to join us up here? Yeah, I think this is, your why is also your family. They're here, or if they're still in Spokane. Well, welcome everyone, and I was pointing out to Dr. Saltzman as I saw you sitting there, what a diverse group of new leaders. So welcome everyone. So that takes us now to the superintendent's report. Dr. Saltzman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Board of Directors, and to the public this evening. First of all, we have a great class, so congratulations and welcome. And you don't have to stay tonight, okay? So you can leave.
Yeah.
It'll probably be the earliest you'll go home, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can leave, okay. I'd like to begin my report tonight regarding summer graduation. And we had 27 students walk across the stage of the Civic Auditorium last week. It's an amazing accomplishment for our students. They worked so hard to achieve these goals, and I'm so proud of each and every one of them. And I would like to thank again Jeannie Willard and also the principals and assistant principals that helped make that happen across the system, and the teachers, because it takes everybody. And those are the most determined students I've seen, and kudos to them to walk across the stage at summer graduation. Well, guess what? We are 8 days away from the first day of school. Yes. And I want to share to the public this evening that preparation is underway to make sure that we have the best opening possible. One of the biggest changes this year is the launch of our new student information system, which is Synergy. I want to share with the community tonight, Synergy is now live. It powers Parent View for parents and guardians and Student View for our students. The applications provide access to grades, attendance, and other school information. I want to thank the entire LITS team and the entire staff that helped make this transition possible. And I think to our public, you will really appreciate the ease that this is bringing to the system. So thank you. Family and students will be able to check that Parent View and Student View Friday evening for class schedules and teacher assignments coming up very soon. So can't wait for that, and can't wait to see our students back on August 27th. And then we welcome back our kindergarten students on September 2nd. So really exciting times. I want to share with the public this evening that we just concluded our Summer Leaders Program, which gathered all our leaders across the district, our assistant principals, our directors, and the theme was Every Learner, Every Voice, and it was a huge hit. Music was our theme, so I want to share that with everybody, and it was an amazing time. 3 days together, which include professional learning, building connections, and planning for the year. And our work is centered on student achievement and student expectation. I want to thank the staff at North Middle School for hosting. They did an amazing job making us feel welcome. The Every Learner, Every Voice theme really resonated with our leaders. From presentations to collaboration, work and music was part of everything we did. So speaking of music, I'd like to end today's report with a song that I had to share with the leaders in our district, and I'd like to share it first tonight with everybody that's here and to our public. So I would like you to please take that away, and please listen to the words, because this is what resonates for our district.
Well, bell rings loud, it's a brand new day. Our school's all ready, we're on our way. Textbooks stacked and tech turned on. From kindergarten to seniors, we all belong. We've built the team, we've set the stage. Now it's time for students to engage. With every step, with every goal, we lift each learner heart and soul. So let's swing till the stars hit it out of the park. Like the mariners in the night, we're making a mark. Every student, every stepper, every school and our crew, we achieve, we believe, and we follow through. Let's dream big dreams and keep rising tall. In Everett Public Schools, we give it our all. We're scholars, we're leaders, we're built to succeed. Together we thrive, every thought, every deed. Always buzzing, whiteboards clean. Each classroom powered by one big dream. Teachers guiding staff behind the scenes, building futures, fueling routines. From science labs to center stage, to reading corners that light the page. Achievements, not just a single score, it's every voice and so much more. We're mariners of learning, eyes on the the pennant. Every swing counts and every inning is present. We rally together, no one sits the bench. We rise, we roar, we climb every trench. The count is full, the bases are loaded. The school years are moving, passion exploded. And the least step we're in, this is one. Until every goal is not just reached, but won. So let's swing for the stars, light up the scoreboard. Our students shine brighter than ever before. We lift each other, we grow, we strive. In Everett School, success comes alive. Let's go team, bring your best today. Because greatness is always just one pitch away. Inspiring, achieving is what we do. This year is ours, now let's see it through. Everett Public Schools, where we inspire, achieve, and thrive. Now, let's play ball.
Thank you. And then in closing to the public, let me assure you that the buses will run smoothly day one. Food will be served in the cafeteria day one. Students will have their schedules. There'll be no secondary students waiting in the cafeteria for their schedule. And behind every classroom will be adult facing your kids that morning. We wish everybody a great, successful opening, and I look forward to seeing everybody opening day. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. This moves us on to board comments. Director Herman, would you like to begin?
Sure. I don't have a song, guys. That was fantastic. First and foremost, welcome back, everyone. It is really great to be here, and I'm really excited for the year ahead. For my report tonight, just a couple of things. I was able to attend the summer graduation ceremonies last week at Everett Civic Auditorium that Dr. Salzman had already shared. And just like Sequoia's commencement last spring and for our transition students, the summer graduation ceremony is special for us because we get to hear a little bit about each student's story as they're getting ready to accept their diploma. And in a district as large as ours, hearing those individual stories of resilience, their plans for the future, and the gratitude they have for their family members and the significant people in their lives that got them to the finish line of earning their high school diploma. Those events and those stories are truly bucket fillers for me, and I suspect for other directors as well. They really highlight our why, which is what we had heard about tonight from our new administrators, as to why we do the work in public education. So congratulations to our most recent Everett Public School graduates. Another event, Stuff the Bus. I was out on Sunday for a volunteer shift. I want to thank our Everett Public Schools Foundation for their year-round support of our students. We spoke with parents, students, and community members who were out doing their shopping. People donated big and small, and it all adds up. This morning, I was able to also be at Monroe Elementary, where a big donation came in. Amazon presented a check for $25,000 to the Foundation for Stuff the Bus. Wonderful moment to be a part of. It reminded me of the video that was shared at the start of the year in the Back to School family newsletter. And it was also shared online. When we work together, we can accomplish so much for our students and our schools can thrive. And that's what it's all about. So that's my report tonight, wishing everyone a great start to the school year and looking forward because we have our own school board retreat coming up later this week. So that's it.
Director Obolinski.
Okay. Thank you, Director Herman. I've made some changes because I don't want to rehash too much, but we're getting ready for school in my family too. We're excited about the beginning of the school year, even though it's earlier this year, which is, I think, still catching a few people off guard, but they've gotten ample notice, I would say. I was invited to Cascade High School's 50th reunion. It didn't have quite the same level of attendance or electric atmosphere as the Everett High School auction, but I got to visit with a lot of folks that care deeply about Cascade High School and students, and I even heard stories about your father, Anna Marie Lawrence, and Everett's past. The class donated thousands of dollars to the Cascade Parents Group. I met with Congressman Larson. I thanked him for helping to secure the release of Title II, III, and IV funds through his advocacy. And I emphasized the importance of protecting Title I dollars that support our most vulnerable students. I also advocated for the continued protection of federal funding for school meals, which remain essential for many of our youngsters. As for the consent agenda, that I'm proud to approve in a little bit, congratulations to all of our new hires. There are a lot of them. I'm also, the financial literacy grant is particularly near and dear to my heart. Thank you to our staff and to OSPI for recognizing the importance of financial literacy. ECAP, we're serving 310 students this year. I'm disappointed we couldn't expand enrollment, but I'm glad we're doing everything we can on the early learning side. Graduation Alliance, I also was at summer graduation, but I really like reading Dr. Willard's Soul Source. She's really good at those. But I'm glad to approve that. And I recognize that with graduation rate at like 96%, it's harder and harder to improve. And so partners like Graduation Alliance, anyway, I'm just really glad to approve that. And then finally, the SRO agreements. Thank you to Snohomish County, to the City of Mill Creek for supporting us with SROs, and especially to the City of Everett for providing free SROs for our middle schools. Finally, and lastly, I especially want to thank the parents who have shown up consistently, meeting after meeting, to share their thoughts about LifeWise. That kind of commitment takes courage, and it shows just how deeply you care about students and education. That's it. Sorry I'm so long.
No, that's fine. Director Atkins.
Well, welcome back, everyone. Hope everyone had a good summer. I don't have too much to report. Haven't been up to too many things on our end over the course of the summer, but I've been very busy in my day job, just keeping track of federal impacts on local education. And I'm sure at our next meeting I'll have a bigger report to share out. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Jackson Lawrence.
Thank you. I went to the summer graduation, and it was fantastic, just as Director Herman had said. Just hearing the stories about these individual students and their achievements, it really warmed my heart, and I just say congratulations again to all of them. Really impressed by the students, and I look forward to a fantastic year. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And what's so funny is we're saying welcome back, but this is actually the last meeting of last school year. So it's kind of interesting. But it has been a great summer, but I know you all have so much more to do before school begins. It's already been said about summer graduation, and I was just really impressed with the high number of the Graduation Alliance students, and again with their stories. And one student actually, I think, brought the room to tears. It was my pleasure welcoming new staff today, especially a young woman that is going to be teaching in our district that I've known since she was 2 or 3 years old, I think, a good friend of my daughter's. And then this week we actually have our board retreat at the end of this at the end of this week, which is really where the board comes together in a way to sort of plan out what we're going to do next year, how the meetings flow, how the agendas flow, really what our priorities are, and as well as a presentation about the bond, I believe. And so we're excited to see that. I've been sort of talking to people about that, about what the community is going to be bringing to us. But anyway, I wish everyone the best in these last few days, and I look forward to being at Emerson for their first day of school on the 27th. So thank you so much. And then that brings us to audience comments. Tonight we have 3 people that have requested to speak. They will be called up in the order that they signed up. Hold on, let me make sure I've got all 3 in the right order. I don't mess up. And I'm saying this for the betterment of the listening audience, that the school board sets aside 15 minutes during regular board meetings to hear from our constituents. We do this because we value public input. We want to hear and understand the perspectives you bring to the table. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to present. As board president, I have the responsibility to ensure that at our board meetings, we conduct district business in public. We do this in an orderly, productive, and respectful manner. We welcome ideas and opinions presented in that same manner. We thank you for helping, and I thank you for helping me with that responsibility. The entire board welcomes you to this meeting. It is important that you all understand the portion of this meeting and how it's conducted. We will call you to the podium in the order of which you signed up. All comments are recorded, so the board will have access to everything said tonight. Repetition is not necessary as it cuts into other people's time. The public comment part of the agenda is for the board to listen to what you have to say. It is not a time for debate or discussion. Board members do not respond to individual comments. And then lastly, please remember that your words have impact on you, not on the school district. On you, not the school district, are responsible for your words. We caution all speakers it's possible that your statements could violate the rights of others under various laws, including laws protecting privacy and laws prohibiting defamation. If you're unsure of the legal effects of your remarks, please seek independent legal advice. In any case, with that, we really do welcome you tonight, especially if you're in our respectful and inclusive community of students. And I think that is why some of you are here tonight. So I'll call the first person up. I'm going to say this right. Janine Demara. Okay, how wrong was I? You will correct me when I get up here. When you get up here, please correct me, because I tried to do it phonetically.
It's Demaray.
Demaray.
Imagine all of my poor teachers my whole life.
Yeah, so you've been here before, and we welcome you back. You wait for that green light, and then you can begin.
Excellent, thank you. Good afternoon. Well, we are here again, the start of another school year, and I am disheartened that LifeWise will still be allowed to indoctrinate our children with the endorsement of the board members, save one. The lack of action feels like another nail in the coffin of our already broken democracy. We know that these good Christians are all too happy to sue to get this case to the Supreme Court. Is that expensive? Sure is. With the cost being the forefront of the minds of folks these days, my question is this: what is the cost of fascism? What did it cost Germany, Europe, and the world during World War II? Deaths of millions, long-term injuries, mental and physical, crippled economies, and just like prior theocratic uprisings, the loss of facts and data that get destroyed or amended to fit the oppressor's narrative. As a tax-paying citizen, I would rather you fight now, because you won't have the power to fight later if the theocratic takeover of our country is successful. When we are in the bad place, will you look back and regret doing nothing? I hope so, but I hope more that you will choose to do something now. We will not forget this moment in history, this moment when good people needed to do the right thing no matter what. The moment that throughout my life, I heard people say, if that was us now, we wouldn't let that happen. Have you ever said that to yourself? Have you ever heard somebody else say that, or have you had that thought? Well, now is that moment. Now is that time. Which path will you choose? The harder, narrower path, or will you choose the wide path with the least resistance? The wide path was the Germans watching the trains go through their towns, and then they turned the other cheek knowing those trains were filled with broken down souls on their way to the gas chambers. Please stop ignoring what we're all watching across this world and in our country. The train approaching our town, and I'm wondering, are we going to turn the other cheek, or are we going to stop the train? Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have, Jennifer McClellan, a resident of the district, about Everett's legacy is their subject.
Jennifer Phillips McClellan.
Phillips McClellan, I
Thank you.
apologize.
It's quite all right. It's a mouthful. Thank you for having me again. Sorry I'm here again. But for obvious reasons, I would think by now. I want to speak to the legacy that the Everett School Board is actively creating. Other school districts are looking to your example of inaction. I have been approached by parents from school districts in Anacortes, North Shore, Gig Harbor, and Snohomish because of the inaction of this board seems to indicate that they should also allow LifeWise in their own districts, and they are concerned and worried and scared. Because this school board has chosen to do nothing, they feel the pressure to do the same and follow suit. This is the legacy of the Everett School Board: Christian nationalism, anti-LGBTQ sentiment, and othering of those kids who do not hold the same views of LifeWise is okay. I'm also going to say that by addressing the biggest elephant in this room, that 3 of you are up for election, and your silence is being noted. Thank you.
Thank you. And that closing us tonight is Tom Clark, a resident of the district, also to speak about the LifeWise program.
Hello,
Wait,
good
hold on a
evening.
second. Wait
Oh,
for
sorry.
the green light to come up because you're new to us. Now you have 3 minutes when it's up, and then when it's red, you're done.
Good evening, President Mitchell, board members. So nice to see you tonight. All the district employees that are here are new administrators. I was really glad that I got to see that, by the way. I am a parent of two wonderful Everett Public Schools students. One attends Jackson Elementary and one attends North Middle School. And I am just so happy that we found this district. We moved here as a military family in 2021. And what we found was a district made up of people of all cultures from all over the world, all different religious backgrounds, some people who are not of faith. And we just love this community. We've met folks who are LGBTQ, openly trans, and we feel really excited that they're able to live their truths here. I'm speaking tonight because the LifeWise program flies directly in the face of the efforts that this district and this community have made to be diverse, inclusive, and respectful of our neighbors. And before you write me off as an atheist or someone who's against religion, I am a Christian. I've been a Christian my whole life. I have deeply held beliefs in Christianity, but I also believe that you can be a Christian without being a Christian nationalist and forcing your beliefs on other people. And I believe LifeWise is indoctrinating our children, and it's a very dangerous program because our children are then going to go back into our diverse schools and spread hate against the LGBT community, spread hate against diversity, and spread hate against the neighbors that I love. So I'm asking the district to consider the impact on our children and our community at large and to get rid of this dangerous program. Thank you very much. I yield the remainder of my time, Madam President.
Thank you so much. And we, as it was said previously, we do appreciate you coming back and you are being heard. So thank you. Might not look like it, but you are. And that takes us to legislative updates. There is none for this meeting, but thank you for your work with speaking to Representative Larson. And that takes us to the consent agenda. Dr. Saltzman, have you received any questions about the consent agenda?
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the case of this consent agenda, the Superintendent's Office received and answered one question on the consent agenda regarding the financial reports. Thank you.
Thank you. First, does any director wish to remove an item from the consent agenda and place it on the new business section of the agenda? Seeing none, is there any objection to the adoption of the consent agenda by general consent? Seeing none, the consent agenda is approved by general consent. This takes us on to strategic progress monitoring, where there is none for this meeting. This takes us to information and discussion, which is Dr. Bowden, you're going to present on the minimum basic education compliance report.
Yes.
Thank you. I was just looking at the agenda for timing.
You. Good evening, President Mitchell, Board Directors, Dr. Salzman. Our team is very pleased to be here this evening to present our annual minimum basic education compliance report for the 25-26 school year. While this report fulfills a statutory requirement, we view it as much more of a compliance exercise. This actually represents our ongoing commitment to equity, to access, and excellence for every student in Everett Public Schools. And tonight we'll walk you through the foundational elements and offerings that make up Washington's program of basic education and show how Everett not only meets these expectations, but embraces them as part of our mission to support every student, every day. Each year, school districts across Washington state are required to submit a survey to the State Board of Education confirming that they have met the state's minimum basic ed requirements. This includes foundational elements like instructional hours or graduation pathways, as well as specific offerings outlined in law. The foundational elements that you see here, in fact, actually, let me hide that. The foundational elements are things that are required. These are things that the State Board of Education, if you do not have those foundational elements, you will not be certified and you will not receive funding for those things. Those required items, there's another section which is the required elements, and those elements, some of them are directly tied to basic education funding, some of them impact certification, but not all of them are actually tied to the basic ed funding laws. There are some that are actually tied to other statutes in different laws. And then there are the encouraged. These are things that the state then says, we'd like you to do these, or these will become required eventually, and we'd like you to continue to embrace these as part of your educational program. They don't necessarily impact the certification or the educational funding for those pieces. So with the foundational and required, there are some pieces that when they review our survey at the State Board of Education at their annual meeting, they are looking at if all of those necessary and required pieces are met, the district is then recommended for certification at their meeting, and that's the state's formal acknowledgement that you are in compliance with those different, to make sure that you have a legally sound education program. I'm very proud to say that Everett Public Schools once again has met the requirements across all categories on that survey, and our report was submitted on August 13th, and we have received information that we have been confirmed and approved. So we're very excited about that. But again, this is really about ensuring that all students in Washington have equitable access to a comprehensive and quality public education. But for us, this is not just a legal obligation. This is a reflection of our values here in Everett Public Schools. That's why as we walk through all of these categories of compliance, we're also going to highlight this evening how each one supports our deeper commitment to equity access and meaningful learning for every student.
Now that we have reviewed the certification process, let's take a closer look at specifically what the State Board of Education actually evaluates. As Dr. Boughton mentioned, the compliance framework is broken down into 4 distinct categories. Each represents a different level of expectation and legal connection. Understanding these categories not only help us meet the required elements, but they also deepen our understanding and our commitment to providing equity and high quality learning experiences for every student. Let's begin with the first category around foundational elements. These are the must-haves for certification. They're the core building blocks for the school district's program. They include 180 school days, minimum basic education, high school and beyond plans, and more. Think of these as the non-negotiables. Every district must have them to be certified. But for us, it's more than compliance. It's about ensuring that every student has access to 180 days of instruction, that they have opportunities to plan their future, and they have access to the courses that will prepare them to look forward and beyond. It's about opportunities and options and making sure that every student in our community is supported by building a path forward. Next is looking at the specific required elements directly connected to basic education. They're explicitly referenced in that their presence or absence directly impacts our overall certification status. As noted by the green checks, we're covered in every component. They include things like cardiopulmonary resuscitation, or CPR, AIDS, education, arts education, final aid advising, and observances like Veterans Day. In Everett, we don't just check the box, we implement these with integrity. These offerings reflect our commitment to creating a well-rounded student who is informed, engaged, and prepared to thrive in their community.
So the other half of the required elements are additional legislatively required offerings. So while these are not directly tied to basic education certification, they do reflect broader state priorities that support student success, safety, and readiness for their life beyond high school. So this year, 2 offerings, both the Seal of Biliteracy and Sex Trafficking Awareness and Prevention Education, these were elevated from the encouraged category into the required category. Then this shift really highlights the state's growing emphasis on cultural inclusion, student safety, and post-secondary readiness. Other required offerings include the Academic Acceleration Policy, Comprehensive Sexual Health Education, and the Continuity of Operations Plan, which ensures districts can maintain essential services during emergencies or a pandemic that may happen. And we also continue to implement the John Lililosh Since Time Memorial curriculum, provide credit opportunities for students who have been released from institutional education facilities and meet the financial education standards. Additionally, we support our students through the Electronic High School and Beyond Plan platform. We currently are using Naviance. We'll be eventually switching over to School Links, which is the new statewide program. And we really ensure that we have that planning with high school and beyond plan initiation starting in middle school as well. So in Everett, we've really embraced these shifts, ensuring our students have access to the language recognition, financial education, tribal curriculum, and more. And because we believe that all students deserve a safe, informed, and empowering educational experience. So whether students walk off the stage with a diploma in their hand like they did last week, or if they receive their diploma through an alternative path, we strive to support each student maximizing their post-secondary opportunities.
And as stated earlier, we're scheduled to receive our certification at the September State Board meeting, and we are compliant and in every aspect in all of the areas, including the encouraged offerings. While this report is called Minimum Basic Ed Compliance, for us, it's all about representing more than that. It's more than the legal requirements. It's our commitment to our students, to our community, and to our families to ensure that every student has the tools, the time, and the opportunities that they need to succeed. Compliance is merely the baseline. Everett provides equity, access, and excellence. We remain dedicated to our system where every student in Everett Public Schools is supported, challenged, and empowered. Every student, every day. That's how we continue to inspire, achieve, and thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Yes.
First of all, thanks so much. I actually really appreciate this compliance report every year. I also really appreciate that while it is a minimum basic ed, that you emphasize this is not just checking boxes, but we look at each element. And because this is a public meeting, I was preparing for today's, I was looking at the State Board of Ed website, and they do have that great matrix with links on each one of those requirements, where it comes from. Because I think sometimes there's misunderstandings on, like, when we change the calendar, oh, does that change the 180 days? Nope. And so where it's sort of following it back to legislation and RCWs on that. So good resource there, but thanks for tonight.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
And it is the strong work of everybody, so thank you. Right, so this takes us to the adoption of our operating budget for the fiscal year 25-26. And I just want to make sure I do this right. Okay, so Ms. Tress.
Thank you, Board of Directors, Dr. Saltzman, President Mitchell. Tonight, we will review the district's operating budget for the 25-26 fiscal year. The board and the community have had an opportunity to see the details of the 25-26 operating budget during the first reading presented to the board on July 1st, 2025 regular board meeting. I will go over the prescribed process for adopting the budget, confirm across all funds that there have not been changes since the budget was presented on July 1st, and review the summary information for the district's 5 comprehensive funds. State law has a very prescriptive process in regards to adopting the district's budget. We must make the budget available to the public, hold a hearing and adoption, and adopt its operating budget by August 31st. Within that, we also provide notice to our community, letting them know that we'll be holding a hearing and the adoption and what date we are holding. At this moment in time, no public comments have been received from the district's operating budget. And again, the 25-26 operating budget has had no changes since it was presented on July 1st, 2025. I will begin discussing the high-level information around the district's operating budget regarding its general fund, the main operating fund. This table represents a budget comparison from the 24-25 fiscal year to the 25-26 fiscal year. I want to highlight a few things here. It's showing our overall district's revenues, expenditures at the very high level, and our anticipated ending fund balance for the next fiscal year. Revenues are increasing from a budget to budget perspective, primarily driven by a cost of living increase, overall a cost of living increase provided by the state, as well as increasing enrollment. Our expenditures are increasing primarily by additional staffing allocation, staffing cost increases, and increases in our material, supplies, and operating costs. Expenditures overall for the 25-26 fiscal year are anticipated to exceed revenues, and the ending fund balance is budgeted to be 7% of total expenditures, which is above the district's board policy of 5%. I want to talk about the district's overall enrollment, as it's not only one of its main revenue drivers, but it's also its main staffing allocation drivers for our school staffing. The tables here represent, the table on top, the top table represents the district October 1 head count, comparing it to the 24-25 budget, actuals for the 24-25 fiscal year, and the budget for the 25-26 fiscal year. The district hires a demographer to help us align these projections, and that information is actually presented to the board in the spring timeframe. The demographer provides us information on low, medium, and high expectations around enrollment, and the district is using its medium enrollment to focus on the budget for the 25-26 fiscal year. From an actual to budget perspective, we do anticipate about an increase of 91 students, and from a budget to budget perspective, that increase is about 166 students. When we look at the table below, this represents an annual average of that student headcount, and this is the actual mechanism to drive the funding from the state as a whole. Enrollment in general is increasing year over year, but we are not back at our post-pandemic enrollment, but we do anticipate to be there in the next couple of years. So we continue to have growth year over year. What that means for district revenues is we do anticipate revenue increase, as I mentioned before, driven by a multitude of factors, but I'll walk through kind of the breakdown represented on this table. We anticipate local tax increases, primarily driven by enrollment growth, as well as driven by enrollment growth and increasing access to our overall levy capacity. We anticipate increase in our state general purpose funds, driving a couple factors here, one being the cost of living increase provided by the state, as well as increasing MSOC allocations and enrollment growth. We're anticipating state special purpose fund increases by a couple different factors, one being our special education funding. State funding was increased by our state funding for special education was increased by state special education funding factors were increased. We're also anticipating some enrollment growth for our special education as well. We're seeing some categorical programs increase in our state general purpose funding, both in our multilingual instructional programs, so enrollment for our multilinguals is growing, as well as in our learning assistant programs, as that grant has been awarded, as more schools are being awarded that funding as a whole. When we look at our budget expenditures, comparing the 24-25 fiscal year budget and the 25-26 fiscal year budget, we're seeing increases in various programs from the increases and decreases in various programs. Our basic education programs are increasing by a couple different factors as well. It's increasing staff costs, staffing allocations, and a shift to where we're really allowed to code or expend some of our CTE programs, and we're required now to put them in our basic education programs. Again, special education expenditures are increasing, driven by enrollment growth as well as staff costs and service cost increases. We're seeing a decline in our CTE cost, really, again, as I mentioned, in our basic education programs, just shifting from CTE to our basic education programs, same program, just moving to where we can actually spend the funding, spend the cost out of. And then again, as I mentioned, our categorical programs or state special purpose funding is growing, really driven by the additional funding in our multilingual programs, as well as growth in our learning assistant program funding. That will both be in staff costs as well as material, supplies, and operating costs. When we look at our expenditures, comparing budget to budget on how we utilize our funding, we break it out here by salaries and employee salary or staff costs. That increase year over year is driven not only by increased allocations for staffing due to our growth in enrollment, but also staff cost increases as well. Our materials and supply costs are declining from a budget to budget perspective to really reflect what we're spending this year overall. So we're seeing less spend than what we budgeted from the 24-25 fiscal year, but it is more than what we are projecting to spend more than what we spent for this fiscal year. Our purchase services are increasing, again, as a reflection of what we're actually spending for this fiscal year as well. And so we're shifting some of those costs, what are anticipated for the 25-26 fiscal year budget. I also want to highlight in our purchase services, that includes many different things. All of our transportation costs, our insurance costs, our utility costs, and our service contracts for special services are in that purchase services kind of bucket of categories. When we look at our multi-year forecast, I just want to highlight some of the assumptions that we work into building that forecast. It does assume increasing enrollment based on our consultants' medium and projection. It assumes cost increases based on the implicit price deflator or a cost of living adjustment that the state is projecting, and then no future state legislative changes. It also assumes an increase in our levy authority and the ability to collect on that levy authority, and then a reduction in federal resources in our forecasted years, driven by what's been anticipated in reductions in some of the title funding in Title III, Title IV, and Title II. So that is reflective in here of what the revenues and expenditures could look like. As you can see here, we are anticipating an ending fund balance for the 25-26 fiscal year of 7% of total expenditures. And as we forecast out those years, you see a decline to just above 6%, so above our 5% board policy, and we then start to increase in the 28-29 fiscal year overall. As we review the 4 other comprehensive funds, I'll begin by discussing the Capital Projects Fund. This fund supports major capital projects and technology projects. And as I mentioned, for the next slides that we go over on the forecast for these, there have been, again, no changes since the first reading. I want to highlight that this forecast includes anticipated levy project plans that was approved on a capital levy, which both includes construction projects and technology projects from the 2022 levy, and anticipates continued levy growth for capital technology. Again, it supports enough for the levies that have been approved and a future levy as well. The majority of the revenues here are levy driven, and the majority of the expenditures are driven again by that project plan. And we do have transfers out consistently, as we've seen year over year, that transfer to the district's operating budget, the operating fund, the general fund. As we look at the debt service fund and its 4-year forecast, this fund supports outstanding bonds, outstanding bond payments and interest and principal, and the expenditures do support our overall, the district's overall bond repayment plan as it currently stands. When we look at the 4-year forecast for the Associated Student Body Fund, we do anticipate some plans for gradual reduction in fund balance so that the students are utilizing the funds that they raised during the fiscal years that they're raising them. I also want to highlight that the students presented the 25-26 operating budget for their Associated Student Body in May, and there has been no changes since that May timeframe. This fund, again, supports student activities and athletics for the district. As we look at the district's transportation vehicle fund, this fund supports district-owned vehicles. For the 25-26 fiscal year, it does provide the capacity to purchase 3 electric vehicles, funded partially through state funding and partially through a grant we anticipate to be received. And then as we look at the forecasted years, it does support the ability to purchase future vehicles, buses in future years. I want to highlight that most of our transportation funding, again, is through the district's main operating fund, the general fund, and so these are for the district-owned fleets. So thank you. And then tonight, I'd like to ask the board to approve Resolution 1324, the operating budget for the fiscal year for the 25-26.
Thank you, Ms. Tress. Are there any questions? Director Herman?
Okay, two quick questions. First of all, the MSOC disclosure, that is projected for the 25-26?
Yes.
Okay, so that, just to draw, that'll be interesting for legislative priorities, because once again, that's 5.7 million that we are anticipating having to pay from our local. And then also, could you explain, I know you've done this before, but the November capital fund transfer to general fund of 4.5, that's regular.
Perfect. Yeah. So there are certain expenditures that are that, although capital eligible, must be transferred into the general fund. So we have to transfer the funding from the capital fund to the general fund to pay those. That's required by the rules under the state law. So.
Dr. Rowland-Wilensky.
I would just reiterate my comments from the first reading. Thank you. Great job.
Any other questions or comments? Yeah, I just have a question. So you did mention the federal changes, but we're not anticipating them until 25-26?
Correct.
And does that include anything that the federal government gives the state? Because we do have quite a bit in state funding, grants. And how many of that is federal funding into state funding? Is that also next year potentially?
So anything state-driven for this year has already been communicated as a relatively small dollars. For the this year, also the federal weren't anticipating any major changes. They did notify us that they will be releasing the remaining, that they're not going to be withholding the remaining title funding that we anticipate were unsure of in July. So for the 26-27 year is when we are anticipating reductions in federal funding. Right now, they're committing to 70%. What we're hearing is about 70% of the Title II, Title III, and Title IV. We haven't heard anything else outside of those dollars or anything that's state-driven or that would be impacted. So at this point, we don't know enough to consider what that could be. And so as we go through the process for next year, we'll hopefully have more information to go through.
Because we are dependent on a lot of that for our ECAP programs. So do we know yet?
Not at this point in time. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Is there any further questions? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the adoption of Resolution 1324, adoption of the operating budget for fiscal year 25-26?
Moved.
So moved. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it has been moved by Director Atkins and seconded by Director Rowland-Wilensky. That now opens a public hearing for the proposed resolution. Is now open. Dr. Saltzman, are there any requests for public comment?
None at this time, Madam Chair.
Thank you. As there are no public comments, the public hearing for Resolution 1324, adoption of the operating budget for fiscal year 25-26 is hereby closed. Are there any board comments for the motion before us? Seeing none, then we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, no. Any abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you. So I have in the agenda that we would now take a break, but things have gone a little bit faster than we thought they would go. So are we okay to just plow ahead and we can take a break before our executive session? Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so then that takes us to our new business. Approval of the educational specifications for Madison Elementary Schools, where we're going to start. Mr. Fleckenstein.
Well, that always takes a minute. Well, good evening and thank you. I'm really excited. I know this is the new business section of the agenda, but this is the exciting business of the agenda as well. Tonight we have for you from the capital projects team is 2 education specifications that we'll be presenting for you. One is at Madison Elementary School, and then we will also be bringing Everett High School's auditorium modernization. And with that, I'd like to introduce colleague and Director of Capital Planning and Facilities, Darcy Walker, who will introduce his team and go through the first of these presentations on Madison Elementary.
Thank you, Larry. Good evening, Board, Madam President, Superintendent Salzman. Tonight it's my pleasure to give you an update on the educational specifications. We'll start with Madison Elementary School. I'd love to introduce Stephen Krause, Senior Project Manager with my department, and he will be running and managing Madison. Then next, after this presentation, I'll introduce Matt Finch, again, Senior Construction Manager. He will be managing the Everett High School's auditorium modernization. Ed specs, as we refer to them, educational specifications. All right, how do I advance this? Sorry, Larry.
Sometimes it does a weird thing.
All right, thank you. Okay, so tonight's meeting objectives, we want to review what the educational specifications are, who was involved, and what the process included. We'll review next steps. So after the educational specifications, what happens? We'll give you a timeline on that, some schedules. And then we'll ask for board approval of the Madison educational specification. So as one thing I'd like to step back to, educational specifications are customary and routine for any large project undertaken by Everett Public Schools. They are also required by OSPI for any school districts that are seeking school construction assistance program funding, which we will be doing on both of these projects. With that, again, this is a time frame schedule that was put together several years ago in response to the passage of the 2022 capital levy. With our voter support, and thank you to our voters, we passed a 6-year capital levy in 2022, allocating $229.4 million to the capital construction projects. As you'll see on the screen, we've got replacement at Jackson Elementary School, which we are actively in construction. So if you haven't driven by the site, please do it. It's pretty fun. It's awesome to see it coming to fruition. And then you'll see down below replacement of Madison Elementary School. We're going to start the design on that we're starting it as we speak. We're just finalizing a contract with our architect on that one, and we'll begin. So with that, what are EDGE specs? And as defined by this WAC, WAC 392-342-1015. Educational specifications shall describe the educational activities that are proposed school facilities and grounds should support and the types of spaces and their relationships in order to accommodate program requirements. I'll paraphrase it a little differently as well. Educational specifications articulate a district's educational philosophy, approach, programs, and goals, and translates them into facility design guidelines and criteria for both new and existing schools. And with that, I'll pass the presentation over to Stephen Krause.
Good evening. So for Madison Elementary, we partnered with Dyckman Architects to facilitate the EdSpec session at Madison. We had a series of 7 workshops, and in those we used a number of different activities that range from bubble diagram exercises, focus groups, school tours, as well as a lot of discussion from the committee. This also included numeric programming, which describes sizes of spaces and ultimately what the total school might need to be, as well as, very importantly, adjacency diagramming. So, what needs to be near or within a reasonable distance of other things within the school. So you can see on the chart there, facilitators were Darcy and myself, as well as the lead architect from Dyckman. And on the right-hand side, you'll see on the committee, we had a number of teachers from the school. We had key staff. We had Dr. Gideon and her assistant. We had a number of the administrative departments. Most of them actually were represented during the session, as well as the ultimate design architect, who happened to be Dyckman as well. So they were able to, during the process, hear firsthand the descriptions of what's needed and understand the character of the school. These pictures, the top one and the one on the bottom left, show the 2 of the visits that we did. We visited 3 schools. The purpose of this being that a lot of teachers don't spend much time outside of their school, a lot of times outside their classroom. And so the water that they swim in, if you think of a goldfish, is kind of small. So by getting them outside and letting them see other concepts, and these are typically newer and well thought of within the educational industry, it expands their thinking in terms of what the possibilities are. And that really goes a long way in informing the possibilities that the team can imagine for what their new school would be. So we visited 3 schools, started off at Stevens Creek Elementary in Lake Stevens. We also visited Parkwood Elementary in Shoreline, and also Tambark Creek, our newest ground-up elementary school. On the bottom right, that's the library at Madison, and that's a typical committee meeting where you can see Darcy standing in the back. On the left-hand side standing, that's Zach Ham, he was our architect, and they were facilitating a discussion there. So in the picture here on the left, that's the library again, and just an example of how we were utilizing our technology to facilitate another meeting. On the right-hand side, you can see an example of one of the activities that we went through, which consisted of, if you don't understand what that is, it's a site plan, which is essentially Google Maps of the campus. The area outside the campus is grayed out. And then the colored blocks represent roughly the size of the things that we might need on the site. So the main building, the library, if it wanted to be separate, administrative offices, bus loop, parking, play areas, those kinds of things. And so now, after having had a lot of discussion and thought about what our priorities are, what our guiding principles are, and the adjacencies we needed, they had a chance firsthand in table groups to figure out how does it fit. And so from that, we have pictures of probably 7 different layouts that become part of the educational specs and are full of nuggets of interesting little ideas that the ultimate design architect can utilize. So very informative, very useful, and helpful. So early in the process, we needed to develop what we call guiding principles. Here, we're going to talk about the highlights of those, and also there's some summary statistics at the bottom. Obviously, we want to have a building that's welcoming, inclusive, and accessible. Accessible here for Madison is a key word. We have some challenges with that. We also desire a connection to nature and natural light. The teaching staff would agree that extending learning areas would be something that would be very useful for them. Flexible and collaborative teaching spaces. Security and safety, while we have a number of provisions that are built into our standards for the school district, they identify these are paramount. These are important for Madison. And they also pointed out that we're a neighborhood school, we're very community-minded. So that makes it into our list of guiding principles. So the statistics on the bottom show that from the numerical programming, we anticipate we'll need about 80,000 square feet. We're anticipating a 2-floor building, very similar to a lot of our recent ones and what's built today. Lets us get more efficiency out of our site plan or the site itself. That building will house about 600 students in terms of capacity. It'll have about 30 teaching stations, and we're anticipating using the existing 9.6 acre site to fit this on. In this picture, I need to explain a little bit of what you're looking at. So this is a Google map, if you will, of our property that we own that's outlined with the orange line. So inside of that, we own the property. It's a bit unusual. It's not your typical rectangle that we often have for property. So that's been acquired in pieces over years. And on the left-hand side, the white building, if you will, with the black dotted outline is the existing school. So you can see the existing school is kind of a U-shaped, and then it has a little connector that goes to what we call the annex. It's another building. And on the right-hand side, where the big green background is, that's the playfield. So what's superimposed on that is an artist concept back from when we discussed this project with the 2020 bond, before it passed on the 2022 levy, of what it could look like if we built what would be a typical modern elementary school on the playfield, which is the easiest thing for us to do, considering that we need to execute this project while we're in school in the existing building, right? So typically you build on the playfield, and then when you move into that building, we can tear the existing school down and then complete the work on that other half of the site. So the white line in the middle is really meant to be kind of a dividing line in between a phase 1 and phase 2. Build on the right-hand side, move into it, and then tear the white building down on the left and finish the project there. So at least it gives you an idea of kind of the size and how things might work and the flow of the project as we anticipate it today. This nugget, this little jewel, is actually the program from the original school building. So in 1947, the school opened. And it's a bit of an eye chart, so we won't go through all of this. However, you can get a 7-room school building in 47 for $215,000. We're not in that world today. One of the things I'd like to point out is we've expanded that building not long after in 1952. We built the annex building, you might remember the separate building I pointed out, in 1960. And then in 1991, we expanded both of those again and modernized the entire campus. So that's kind of the timeline or the history, if you will, of Madison and where we are today. With that, let's look at some of the existing pictures. So if those of you familiar with the site, you're standing on the corner of the main street in front of the school, which is Peck's, and then there's an east street that goes up the right-hand side of the photograph, and we're looking at the cafeteria. So all of that is unreinforced masonry, which was common in the day, not the best for seismic design nowadays. Inside the building, these photos are typical or indicative of finishes throughout. And as you look at them, what I hope you would notice would be they've been well maintained. Our maintenance department has done a nice job and custodial of keeping the building going, but they're tired. So on the left, notice the low ceilings. Look at the height of the doors. Look where the ceiling is. Notice the unusual lighting. kind of dim. It's sort of weird, and that to make it work, they had to create a little trough in the ceiling. And just in general, tired finishes. The bathroom in the top there. You can't really tell, but there's 3 different kinds of faucets on the sinks. The doors and the partitions, there's about 2 different sizes there to make all that work as they've been replaced over the years. And on the bottom, that's what you're looking at. On the left-hand side is the annex building, and on the right hand is the main building. And in between those is a canopy that, as security became more of an issue, we've essentially fenced both sides of that canopy, creating a rather confined corridor that the students and staff have to traverse. Keeps them safe, but I'm proud to say that when we build the new building, we'll have all that in one building. So we will no longer have that restrictive, confined space that they have to go back and forth in. A couple more pictures. Here's our library on the left. You can see the stage with the curtains. And on the right-hand side, a shot not too many people see, but that's the inside of the boiler room. And on the right-hand side with all the piping, the red things down there, some are gray, one is gold. There's 3 different heating water system pumps of 3 different generations that, again, our maintenance department has changed over the years to keep us going, but they are at end of life. So if I were to pick a date off of that earlier program, 1945 is when the architects started design on the original building. We're 80 years post, and we're starting design on the replacement building. So what I hope you're gathering from this is we have a building, a school, that has served us well. It's tired, though, and it's really not ideally suited for 21st century educational program needs. So we get kind of excited about these kind of things. We're thrilled to be able to execute this project, to have better facilities for our kids and our staff, and we're very appreciative that our public supports that. In terms of schedule, the top line is really our design process. So there's 3 different stages of design that we go through, and then we have value engineering. It's a part of that. We have what we call constructability review, and it culminates in contract documents that we use to bid. So you'll see that's anticipated to start. It actually has started this month, and we'll wrap that up in about September of next year. And the permitting will begin when we're about 80% through that design. We're far enough along to where we've established all of the things that our authorities having jurisdiction, or the cities and the governmental agencies need. So we will submit for permit in about May of 2026. That process can take about 6 months, so the goal there is to have that permit ready when the contractor's on board. So we'll go out to bid in the fall of next year and anticipate awarding the contract right around the end of the calendar year. That will allow us to have our contractor on board. They can start all their preliminary work, get their submittals in, and start construction early spring of 2027. We have about 1.5 years of construction typically on a new school. So what that allows us to do is complete that so that we can move in over the summer of 28. So if you remember the phasing, we're going to move into that new building, and then we'll demo the other building. So the last line, once the existing building is gone, allows us to complete fields, parking lots, and landscaping. And it's very, very weather dependent work. So while we'll start in the tail end of the summer of 28, it may take as long as the summer of 29 to finish that. We hope earlier, but it could be that long. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Appreciate your presentation. I would like to now request that the board approve the educational specifications for Madison Elementary School replacement project.
Are there any questions or comments? Director Atkins.
I seem to recall someone, if not me, asking this before around this, but we're keeping the nameplate, the Art Deco Madison School nameplate somewhere, right?
We like to try and salvage as much of the old buildings as we can, and that being one of them. You'll notice like we did that, for example, at Whittier Elementary. on when we modernize that building. So yes, that is just one of the many things we'll look at salvaging.
Perfect.
Director Revelinsky.
I don't know that this is necessarily a question for you guys, but I'm curious if we could get a comment about so the building capacity is set to be 600 students, which is a 40% increase, which I think is noteworthy. If anyone could just maybe comment on that, I think it's pretty cool, at least. That.
Yes, thank you. I can comment on that. So two things I can say. The first one being, we in my department, facilities and planning, work with teaching and learning, and over the years we have had many discussions about what is the ideal size for a high school, middle school, and elementary school. A number of years ago, we were set at 550 students at an elementary. We've since, about 7 years ago, decided to up that to 600 students, and that, again, it was all due to growth and things, but we want to be mindful as a district that we don't build our facilities too large that they become unmanageable for the staff and the students. I can also maybe remind that in the 2022 levy, we had originally planned to add 4 classrooms to Madison as part of that build, and so this does just that. Takes us from 26 teaching stations to 30. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
For comments? I guess I just have, when I had a visit at Madison years ago when we first started talking about this, my first time there, I am tall, but to walk into a building where I was like, I think it is wider than it is tall. I imagine some of the people in the district that are taller than me walk in and do this just naturally. So it will be so nice to see this actually fit the people of today, where we're not quite all as wide as that. So thank you so much for this. So the requested action is to approve this. So is there any objection to adopting this item by general consent? Seeing none, then the educational specifications for Madison Elementary School are approved for adoption by general consent. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that takes us, don't walk away, to the approval of the education specifications for Everett High School auditorium building modernization. And Mr. Fleckenstein.
Thank you, Larry. I'd like to introduce Matthew Finch. Matt Finch came on board about a little over a year ago here in the Facilities and Planning Department. He'll be the construction manager for us. He's a senior construction manager with the district, and in just a moment I will turn the program over to Matt. Again, we are here to ask for your approval and to give you an update on the educational specifications for the Everett High School auditorium modernization. Very similar process. I'll let Matt talk to you about the details. Again, you've seen this. What are the educational specifications? I think we've talked about that already in an earlier program. Same with it, and I'll let Matt talk about next steps, and then we'll ask for approval. Again, you'll see Everett High School here. We've got again, this goes back to the 2022 levy. We're starting, in fact, Matt and my team were the recipients of a great presentation today from Bassetti Architects, who presented 5 different possible schemes. There'll be many more of how that building might lay out for us and the spaces within that building. So it's exciting to get going on design. And then we'll plan to break ground in summer of 2027. Again, educational specifications describes the educational activities that are proposed in that school. So a little bit different than Madison. Again, I'll let Matt talk to you a little bit about that. And with that, I'm going to be brief and turn it over to Matt.
Right there. Great. Thank you, Darcy. Good evening. All right, so you're going to hear a lot of similar things to what you just heard, and this will, of course, be very specific to the Everett High Auditorium building modernization. So as Darcy mentioned, we procured the services of Bassetti Architects to assist with the EdSpec process. They'll also be the architect of record with for the design of the new school as well. So we partnered with Bassetti, as I said, conducted a series of 5 workshops designed to inform the EdSpec process for the modernization of the auditorium building. Similar to what Stephen had just mentioned, the workshops include school tours, bubble diagram, adjacency exercises, focus groups with high school staff, administrators, and students, which was neat, numeric programming, and then identifying the guiding principles, which will highlight some examples moving forward. Some of the key facilitators, Mr. Walker, myself, Caroline LeMay, Michael Davis, and Amanda Hone from Bassetti Architects. We had 9 teachers, 6 students, Principal Shepard, and then various district administrators that participated in the process as well. So here's photos similar to what you saw in Madison, some workshop activities and school tours that took place to gain a better understanding of the program needs and to show the committee representative examples of what could be possible for the new modernized facility. So we toured 4 high schools in the region, and each one very different. One was is on the historical registry, Lincoln High School in downtown Seattle, and then a handful of other schools within the area. So it gleaned a lot from that and really helped inspire the committee, moving forward. Additional photos of the workshop and activities, really trying to highlight the likes and dislikes of the existing building. You can imagine the exhaustive list that came from that. And then again, gaining inspiration from the tours that we conducted. So here's a few examples of the numeric programming when we reference numeric program and adjacencies. And the bubble diagram adjacencies provide a target square footage and program connections to one another. Bubble diagrams is a graphical tool that depicts the functional relationship between the spaces. So for example, the servery has a primary or strong connection to both the commons and the kitchen. And I guess you can kind of see that on here. So the boulder lines are more of a strong primary connection. Then you get into kind of secondary or tertiary connections within the different spaces. So very diagrammatic, but just trying to understand how the programs want to connect to one another. Some of the highlights from the guiding principles. Again, one of the bigger differences between the 2 projects, of course, is this is a major modernization that's confined within more or less the exterior walls that exist today, which is roughly 56,000 square feet. The hope is to have a commons that would accommodate 2 lunch periods of about 450 students, really creating a clear sense of entry into this building. Having multifunctional spaces. There's a lot of conversation around that and how spaces could be used in multiple ways. And really, this is really a great opportunity to create a hub for this campus that is a welcoming and inviting space that students just really want to be. We heard that a lot from the students that participated in the committee. Of course, wants to support 21st century teaching and learning and create a very safe and secure space with built-in passive supervision. If you've been in that existing facility, the supervision is extremely difficult, and just the wayfinding in general, it's easy to get lost down in that building. So excited to create some new safe spaces there. So here's a few photos of the existing auditorium building out front, of course. Thought it was kind of a neat, the front doors with the reflection of the main building across the street. Down in the bowels of the building, we have very old, aged, and tired mechanical systems. So the auditorium building was originally constructed in 1939 and modernized 46 years later in 1979. Got kind of a fun fact, and you'll see a plaque in his honor. Bert Arthur was a school board member for 10 years beginning in 1928 and was the first custodian of the auditorium building from 1939 to 1951. I thought that was kind of neat. So here you'll see, so the cafeteria building, which is the cafeteria within the auditorium building, is photographed on the right there. Was originally modernized. Was modernized 43 years ago in 1982 with an exterior ramp that's enclosed, which is photographed on the left, that accesses the cafeteria that's up on the second floor of that building. Our maintenance and custodial team have done a great job keeping this building up, as Stephen mentioned with Madison, but the systems are old and tired and have met their useful life, so it's time to now get in there and replace all that and bring this facility up to 21st century teaching and learning. So with that, project schedule, we are in the design phase as we speak. Darcy mentioned we had a really neat, inspiring meeting with Bassetti Architects this morning to go over some conceptual designs. So we'll continue on with that through design, value engineering, constructability review, and the culminating construction documents through October of 2026. Permitting, we plan on submitting for the building permit around June of 26. These are all approximate dates. Things will adjust a little bit. Bid and award of the project December 26th through February of 27. And we're currently anticipating construction to last about a 12-month window, from June of 2027 to June of 28, then moving into that summer of 2028. And with that.
Okay, thank you, Matt. And at this time, I'd like to ask that the board approve the educational specifications for the Everett High School Auditorium Modernization Project.
Are there any questions? Director Atkins.
2 questions. So first, back on page 11, that walkway, we're getting rid of it, right?
We are. So
Thank
yes.
God.
So I'm going to use the cursor. Yeah, that walkway is right here. Good catch.
I just remember it serving like a wind tunnel, and it just brings up so much cold air into the cafeteria. But my second more serious question is, where are the kids going to eat while we're doing this construction?
Great question. So we have done similar projects in the past, and for example, when we did North Middle School, we set up a kitchen and servery in the Augs gym. So that is a possibility here. We'll be looking at all kinds of possibilities, yeah, so as a temporary kitchen and servery.
Definitely a lot of room there.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
I have one. I appreciate that the detailed specification document included the minutes for all the meetings. Thank you for that. And I did notice that one of the spaces is for an armory. And if you could, I think I know what the answer is, but maybe a little bit of a softball, but could you comment on the armory, please?
Certainly. Yeah, so one of the programs that's resided within this building is the Junior ROTC program, which is thriving, and they have a handful of different spaces with them that are spelled out in the ed spec. One of them being the armory, which houses rifles, which are then used in their marksmanship space, which was quite interesting and something I learned when I came onto this project, but all done in, of course, a very safe manner. And so the new program is looking to how do we best accommodate for their program needs within this space as well. So if that answers your question.
And these are airsoft rifles?
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Let's just be clear about that.
Any other questions or comments? I guess I just have a quick question. So this is the auditorium, but it's 2 buildings, and is the auditorium itself being modernized at all? Because we hold so many events in there.
So it is one building that has been added onto over time.
Okay.
The auditorium itself will receive a new fire alarm system, new fire sprinkler system, will be probably updating ceiling finishes and things like that, because we have to break into the ceiling, cut into the ceiling to install those systems. But other than that, it won't receive much attention. It was updated about 12, 14 years ago and again is in great shape. Custodial and maintenance has maintained that space very well.
Those will be just everything else that's around it.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you for that clarity. Okay, so the action is that we adopt the specifications for the Everett High School Auditorium building modernization. Is there any objection to this being approved by general consent? Seeing none, this is approved by general consent for adoption. Thank you.
Point of
Thank
order.
you.
Yes.
Did we do that for the Madison?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate the making sure. The next thing, Mr. Fleckenstein, is policy 3210, non-discrimination, proposed revision, first reading and adoption.
Well, thank you and good evening. Proposed revisions to Policy 3210, non-discrimination, are in response to the passage of House Bill 1296, which amends the non-discrimination statement to also include ethnicity, homelessness, immigration or citizenship status, and neurodivergence to our non-discrimination statement. Because Policy 3210 is provided annually to students, parents, and staff in our Student Rights and Responsibilities Handbook, we are asking or requesting that the proposed revisions be adopted upon a single reading of the board tonight in the best interest of the district to make sure our publications are up to date on the first day of the student attendance. The proposed revisions to Policy 3210 non-discrimination have been previously reviewed by legal counsel and the superintendent's senior staff.
Are there any questions or comments? This policy and the next one, just so much noise at the federal level. We're still following state law, state requirements for the time being?
Yeah, the changes to our non-discrimination statements that you see, and this being in the 3000 series relates to students, and then the next is relating to our staff and districts non-discrimination statement, which you see published on our human resources web pages and on our district homepage, which is required by law, is generated from changes to Washington state law.
Thank you. Well, that's what it is. Even students, I think I keep hearing these rumblings about how we treat our students. This kind of stuff might go astray. And so I appreciate the fact we're following state law.
Yep.
So thank you for that. As was previously stated, it's being asked that this be for first and second adoption, so adopted tonight for the start of school. So is there any objection to adopting this item by general consent? Seeing none, this policy is adopted for tonight.
Thank you.
And that takes us now to the second policy that you have.
Okay. Revisions to Policy 5010, non-discrimination and affirmative action, also respond to the passage of House Bill 1296, amending the non-discrimination terms and our district's non-discrimination statement to now include ethnicity, homelessness, immigration or citizenship status, and neurodivergence. And we request that the proposed revisions be adopted tonight upon a single reading of the board in the best interest of the district. The proposed revisions have been previously reviewed by legal counsel and the superintendent's senior staff. And just to be clear, school districts across the state who utilize WASDA's model policy service did not receive these changes until July 17th.
Oh, thank you for that clarity. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, is there any objection to this adopting this item by general consent? Seeing none, then this item is approved for adoption.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that takes us to Section 16.0, upcoming agenda items. Dr. Saltzman, what do we have planned?
I'm going to share with everybody what we have planned just for a point of 1 minute privilege. We will follow the state law. We will not let the federal government hold us back for our youngsters. And I want to publicly thank Chris Rydell for his messages to every superintendent, keeping us updated. I think he's been outstanding, and I want to publicly share that with everybody. So thank you. And I do want to say, too, I didn't mention earlier when I started this evening, it was cloudy out, but now it's sunny. Kudos to the HR department for an excellent job there. And very low turnover of administrators, outstanding work, the low turnover that we have, and kudos to the HR department. So, and then coming up to our August 21st special meeting, directors will attend the board annual workshop, which is always an exciting time. And then at our September 9th, 2025 meeting, the board general will contain the following: a summer update, limited use permits for the Everett Public Schools Foundation and the PTSA, the board annual goals for 2024-25 progress report, board annual goals for 25-26, superintendent goals for 25-26, board annual meeting plan for 25-26, and board school liaison assignments for 25-26. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. That takes us now to executive or closed sessions. Tonight there is an executive session for which the board will hear an update from legal counsel about potential litigation involving the district. At this time, the regular meeting is in recess for approximately 5 minutes to reconvene an executive session in the Silver Lake Room for approximately 1 hour. No action will be taken during this executive session and after. Thank you. We're at recess. The executive session by an additional 30 minutes. The meeting is again at recess. We're extending another 15 minutes. And I'll recess again. I would like to reconvene the regular meeting, which takes us to agenda item 1801, adjournment. The August 19th regular meeting of the Board of Directors is now adjourned.